Hey guys, we're back here. It's your boy Yossi Phillips one more time, and we're here to dive into how to calculate your break-even point for e-commerce. So there's a lot of questions going around, a lot of people in my DMs about how do you measure your e-commerce, and this is just one part that you have to measure. But your break-even point speaks to how much you spend, basically from a capex or capital expenditure point, how much you put out to get your e-commerce site up, and how to break even. So if you spend $1,200 TT dollars, just using that figure, on an e-commerce site, and we have a year, you wanna figure out how you're breaking even for a year, then you need to know you have to make $100 each month to pay that, right? And that would be your break even point. So then you're looking at how much products you need to sell to make it back to make that $100, or how much products you need to sell to make that $100 after you take out your tax and your other fixed costs or your variable costs. Right. So here on this starting slide, we're looking at your break-even point in the number of sales dollars and your break-even point in the number of units sold. All right. So units sold could be 10. Each unit could be a separate price, or $10, and then you make $100. Then you need to look at your variable cost, meaning that your site probably needs some other aspect of hosting, or some other plugin, some other CRM that you add on to it, or any other variable costs, electricity, internet, anything else that goes into your actual website or your actual e-commerce platform. You need to look at all of that, and then you need to look at it from a revenue standpoint and where all of them meet. So looking at this graph here, break-even point sales dollars, break-even point units sold, fixed cost, variable cost, total cost, revenue, right? So let's dive in. So your break-even point is the number of units you need to sell to get out of the red and achieve $0 in profit. Just like your actual physical store, meaning how much units you need to sell to make a rent. And then you could study, here's what, how much am I going to now turn into profit or pay variable costs, right? Your fixed costs may be rent, salaries, inventory, and any other things, bills, whatever. And then you need to check that against how much you need to make on a monthly basis to cover that, right? At the break-even point, your sales have covered your fixed and variable costs. Below it is a loss, above it is a profit, and your margin of safety, right? So that says your fixed, your variable costs, just like retail or brick and mortar. You need to know how much you need to sell to break even, where you're not making a profit, but you're not losing. You just at that exact point, and then anything else is a margin of safety. And it's something that you have to calculate periodically, because it doesn't stay the same every month or every year, because the variable costs change. Meaning your hosting for your website may be the same. The cost for your theme may be one time cost. Your actual costing for developing the site may be one time cost, but your variable cost could be different. Meaning, are you using something based on usage? Do you have to scale based on traffic? And all these other costs that are not fixed on a monthly basis that you may use. So let's say you have a seasonal promotion and you decide to do some Facebook ads or some Google ads to drive traffic. That goes into your variable cost, because it's not a fixed cost every month. And then you need to now understand what is your return on ad spend in that campaign, and then separate that from this, and then turn it, and then calculate your profit on top of that. So your break-even point, once you add that variable cost on it, would also be a fixed cost plus that variable cost for that period of time, and then you move on to your basically your profit margin or your margin of safety, right? So why you should calculate your break-even point, and it helps you know how long it will take before you make a profit, and measure the profit and loss at different levels of sales and production. Meaning, you need to know how long it will take to make a profit. Even if you think you could make it in 3 months or 6 months or a year, you have to know what is being realistic based on all the efforts that you're going to do. Now, you can't just build a site and expect people to gravitate to it. Then you need to be discoverable. You start to do SEO and stuff like that. So if you have fixed costs for SEO, then you need to add that in. And then you need to know, here's what. Is it really people coming to the site and they're not selling? or is your ad spend not converting to different things? So you need to know, here's what, am I profiting or am I losing? Now there's good loss and there's bad loss. Bad loss is when you spend your money and nobody comes and then you just give up. Good loss is if you're gaining traction, you're building an ecosystem, people are coming, but they're not converting, but you're having that traffic, then you need to know that there's something that you could tweak and you could learn from that data, and you could increase your sales or production depending on what you're doing. And all this stems from if you do your correct market research and market analysis and stuff correctly. And you could also use it to find out what effect a change in sales price would have on your profit. So once you have certain things, then you could then say, all right, the market price, so this is $20. Could I carry up my price to 22 or 25? Or the market price is 25. Could I drop at 22 and still make it in volume? Instead of making $10 on a product, I'm now making $5 on a product, so I could sell 10 times as much, right? So you need to look at that, how the effect the change in sales price would have on it, right? And it's also excellent to show anyone looking to invest money in your business that you have the data so that they could understand how profitable your idea is, right? Again, a lot of people just go into e-commerce because they like all the pretty bells and whistles, but they don't understand how this digital asset should work and how to tie it into a business model, right? And here's your break-even point formula, right? P is the selling price, meaning what's it cost your customer must pay to receive your product. That's not the cost of that may be a cost of goods sold in other terms, but it's not the cost to make your product. So your cost to make your product may be 10, you maybe sell it for let's just say 20, and P or your cost of goods sold is $20, and then your margin is $10. So you need to know if out of that $10, you're gonna put $1 to internet, you're gonna put $1 to hosting, you're gonna put $1 to this, and you could break it down. X is the number of units bought and sold, right? Variable cost, VC is a variable cost, and the cost of inventory items bought or made. Because again, some things vary. You may be purchasing from a supplier at one price now, next week, yes, or depend on like what's happening in the COVID situation right now. Supply chains are being affected and costs are going up in terms of customs and clearances, so that your cost of inventory would probably go up. So your fixed cost has just rise because you need that input to make your product, right? And then your total fixed cost is the cost of all your annual fees for your digital store. So there's your hosting, your domain name, your SSL certificates, if you're using any CRMs or anything, any software, any back end, and all of that, right? All of those are things that you need to look into. And once you calculate all of that now, selling price by the number of products that you sell, right? Number of units bought and sold. And then your variable cost minus your variable cost and the number of units bought or sold minus your total fixed cost for the year, right? So you need to look at that profit. I sell 10 units now. I sell 100 units a month, and my variable cost is the cost of inventory and items. So I pay $10 for a unit. I need to minus that from every unit that I sell for $20. And then when you get the result of that, then you minus that from your total annual fees for your store. So that may be 100, 200 US, depending on what you need. And then you also need to add into that actual cost for development here if you didn't develop your own store. All right? So let's kind of break it down a little bit. Let's say you want to figure out the break-even point for selling a product that costs you $6 per unit to make, and you're selling it at 30, right? And you know your fixed cost to be 5,724. There's the breakdown, right? So you have a $24 difference in between that $6 that costs you to make it per unit and $30 that you're selling it for, right? So you see that $30 is the cost price that the client pays minus $6, that is your cost to create the goods, and then you minus that from your overall fixed cost, your total fixed cost, which is 5,724, right? So then you know now after this you need to sell 238 products to break even or to get into that safe zone, a safety margin. So once you calculate that, you could then say, all right, 238 products, how much products do I need to sell every month across 12 months to break that down? So if you're looking at it, you're looking at around 12 or 15 products a month that you need to sell. Then you have your targets on that, and then you know by week 1 you reverse engineer the process. You break it down. How much am I going to sell week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5? And then you have your targets. You push your sales targets, or you push your marketing campaigns to guide that. Right? So calculating the cost of a digital store could be something new to a lot of people. Again, a lot of people are not accustomed to creating something like this. And this is important to know if you're operating at a loss or at a place of profitability. Right? Remember this when you're setting up your online business. Now, this is something that a lot of people come to me to help, but again, come to me for help. But again, we could look at it in different ways. You could calculate your own break-even point with this formula. And then there are other formulas that you need to go you need to use to calculate other things. How you acquire a customer, the campaigns that you're going to spend money on, and then your total cost. Because a lot of people think, or they don't realize how much you keep spending. Because they keep adding on a 20 US here, they keep adding on a 10 US here. Somebody tell them, hey, trial this. They end up trialing that. And they don't understand how all of that adds up and how much they need to sell, and tie that back into a strategy and a forecast. So thank you guys for taking the time. It's your boy OC Phillips here again. Share this message, share this video for somebody who could do it. That'll help in the e-commerce space and guide them to setting up a profitable, structured e-commerce platform.